All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's Robert Smirking Gun Reviews. We are back with more of The Haunting of Hill House, the show that I love so much that I have decided to go back and review all the episodes, each one by one. If you want a non-spoiler review of the series, I did a two-part review. If you look for it on my channel, you'll find it there. First part, completely non-spoiler. Second part, the beginning is non-spoiler, but the rest is got like main kind of a lot of points to it. This will be full spoilers. If you're watching this, make sure you watch the episode. So full spoilers on this. It's called Open Casket. It's episode 2. Yeah, so the second part of the original review kind of gives a broad stroke. This is going to be more episode to episode. So this is Shirley's story. But I want to talk really quick about some of the reviews of the show that I've been looking at, and I feel like a few people, it's kind of disappointed them, and that's fine, you know, if you think it's one thing or another, but I feel like some of the disappointment comes from the ending. Now, I'm not going to talk about, I'm not going to spoil the ending here, but I feel like a lot of people think that like movies like this, or, like horror or ghost things, a lot of them have these really like hard down note endings where you feel like even if the people live or presumably live through something really terrible, there's always this kind of like question mark at the end of whether or not they actually survive or not. There's usually some really dark turn at the end. Maybe not as hard as like maybe movies like Drag Me to Hell or things like that, but I mean, it still has this kind of like, I feel like people may be disappointed that this show ends the way it does, and I feel like it's the expectation of that this is a ghost story and this is about the ghosts and the haunted house, and I feel like it's more about a family that experiences a haunted house and spirits and things that are trying to take over and kill them, and in its own way, like take possession of them and influence their own, grief and loss and anger onto these people. And I feel like it's not about them. It's about how these people deal with that, how this family tries to stay together despite this evil that is trying to kill them all. And I feel like that is getting lost on some people, that it's a family series. It's a series about a family, not a series about a fucking haunted house. The haunted house is just the protagonist in this, or the antagonist, I'm sorry, and everything in it. The protagonists are the family, and I guess that's all of them, but like, there's a more strong, the protagonists are stronger to me than the antagonists. But like everything, if you don't have a good villain, your heroes don't really have much to do. And the antagonist house and everything in it is a very excellent villain. But I'm rooting for our heroes. I mean, they're not superheroes or anything, but you are rooting for them. It's not one of these shows where you're just waiting for people to drop because you don't care about them. And there's not even somebody in here that I myself, while I was watching it, was willing to be like, oh, well, at least it was just them. No, every single thing that happens to somebody in this, it's hard. It's because you care. So I just wanted to mention that real quick before we get into the meat of this episode. So this is Shirley's story. You get older, present time Shirley, played by Elizabeth Reeser, who I forgot in the initial review her name. She is so great. She has been in a bunch of things. A bunch. She was on Mad Men. She's on that show Easy on Netflix. A whole bunch of things, and she's really great. And her young counterpart, again, I've said this before, the casting of the kids to their counterparts, their older counterparts, and like the dad, Henry Thomas to Timothy Hutton, just fantastic in most respects. She is a little version of this actress. Lulu Wilson is the younger version. So we get to see the events surrounding Nell's death through Shirley's eyes. First we had Stephen, now we have Shirley. And we get to see so much about how Shirley is, or how and why Shirley is. We get to see how her mother, like Stephen is kind of like his dad, and Shirley's kind of like the mother in a way. She learns, even though they don't become, they don't have the same jobs or anything, neither father or son or Shirley or her mother. But it's what they've learned. They learn from them that kind of, I feel like, influences a lot of how they turned out. And with Shirley, it's mostly like about death and how handling death. But also, when she talks about the designing of the Forever House, how the house has it's like a body. That the walls are like bones, and the kitchen, the dining room is like the heart. And kind of, when you think about it, it kind of, how older Shirley, or present day Shirley, I gotta stop saying older, can go into people's bodies, and take care of them as a funeral director. And how that kind of like detached feeling about a body, kind of being like a house, might make it easier for her, I kind of feel like, to work on bodies. Also, like the pictures that she's taking, like these little mementos, she uses those later on to help reconstruct people. So I feel like also the photography that she does is kind of like influences her later on, studying pictures and people. Again, every scene that little Nell is in this, when she's talking about trying to convince Shirley to have a tea party, and that they're sophisticated, like they're really a big deal. They're not these little kids things like princesses and queens and everything. It's actually very, very big deal. I love how she's trying to sell her on this. It's so hilarious. She's such a damn, like, I know this is Shirley's episode, but every time Nell shows up, I'm just like, oh. And look at me, I'm wearing my Venom shirt, my backwards hat, all like, and I'm geeking out over a little girl. Not in that way, Jesus Christ. Okay, I like when she's talking, when she finds the kittens. Also, well, first, before that, Luke sees the little girl at the edge of the property, and he's like waving at her, creepy. But when she finds the kittens, that whole thing was like when she sees the face underneath the desk, or the like whatever that is, like a tool bench or something. That is such a thing that happens when you see something that you can't make out, that you are terrified of. You don't know what it is, and it can be mundane, but that I know that so many, I mean, the majority of us have to have experienced something where we're looking at something that is obscured, that looks like something that we really don't want to see. And usually, yeah, it is like our imagination's playing tricks on us. But that hornet's nest thing, that would be something, yeah, that's legitimately a real response to something. And it is scary. And I like how her dad says, yeah, that's that's scary. I also didn't know that about wasps, that what they build around can look like the thing. I didn't really think about that, or no, maybe I knew that, I don't know, but I hadn't thought about it in a long time. But that was really interesting. I still hate wasps. I don't care how many. I don't care if they make a nest around, Salma Hayek. Still be scared of them. I don't know. I was trying to think of something that I liked, that I'm pleased I have, that's a pleasure to look at, that would be unpleasurable if hornets were. I am being dumb. It's been a long day. So the whole thing with the kittens, though, oh my gosh. Okay, so first real creepy thing with when the first one dies, and the freaking bug comes out of its mouth. The first time I saw that, I was just like, oh. So when they do the callback later with Nell's body, even though I know it was CGI, it's still creepy. It's still really unsettling. The whole thing where Shirley finds out that Nell died. I love, again, that these reactions, these realistic reactions where she's like, shut the fuck up. Like, no, fuck you. Like, that's not true. Like, that's, like the denial. It's such an earnestness of like, no, no, but not like literally no. This did not happen. Like, they don't like each other. Well, she doesn't like Steve very much right now. But so it's not a stretch for her to just be like, shut, like what? And just that whole, how you tell somebody, like, you get a phone call from somebody saying that so-and-so has died. Yeah, I mean, how are you supposed to be like, yeah, right. You're like, like what? I don't know. I just really dug that scene and her acting in it. Let's see. Yeah, her working on the body. I mean, I know that they had, it's done for story reasons and everything, but that should not have happened. Like, she should not have been. And also, I'll never look at funerals in the same way because of seeing how, I mean, I watched all of 6 Feet Under, great show. Seen them all, like, working on bodies. I don't remember any parts. I've seen, like, they show the dangly bits of everybody and everything, and they show, like, the embalming, but I'd never seen them, like, open up the chest cavity and pull out the bag of organs and just kind of dump them so, like, matter-of-factly, and just, and it's her sister. She's, like, and she's saying it, I mean, on the phone, like, I'm in our sister's chest cavity. I mean, she's pulling her skin back like it's nothing. To me, that was, like, hard to watch because it's just, even though I know it's a dummy, it's just a thing, but it's just the coldness and matter-of-factness of it just makes me look at funerals like, oh, thankfully I don't go to a lot. It hasn't been necessary yet in my life to go to a lot of funerals. But it does make me really more than, nobody wants to go to a funeral, but I'm really going to be dreading the next one that I got to go to. Let's see what else. So the whole thing with where her husband and her talking about being in the black, and she's like just giving away practically funerals, that she's doing them practically pro bono. I like that, the beginning of that, and how that's going to affect things later on when she finds a checkbook. If you've seen all the episodes, you know how that all turns out. I really like how they start these things and leave these questions and then answer them unexpectedly. I got a moth in my room. Oh, no. I got like one of those stupid like Indian ladybugs. Hang on one second. Okay, that's taken care of. Sorry about that. I mean, it was like instantaneous, I think, on here. So, gosh, what was I talking about? Okay, let's get back on track. Yeah, so all the things that pay off later. I really like these questions that get asked but don't get answered like right away. We get them all these kind of non-linear ways of telling it, so that by the end everything is explained. Let's see, what else we got here? Oh, the scene with her and Theo in the bedroom where they hear the dogs barking, and then everything starts banging. That was pretty crazy. And then when their dad's like, nuts. Oh, then you get the second kitten. That's all sorts of, eyes are all crusted over and then white and milky, and then, ugh. But then we get the conversation between her and her mom. And this is also like important. I mean, first she has the funeral for the first cat. So, here's funerals and the way they talk about death and things like that. Again, leading later on towards what she'll do, and then like how she's facing death, like when she lies to her about the kitten. All these just different things that plot, go down that road. Like when she's at her mother's funeral and the guy takes, the funeral director takes her down to the casket and says, she's afraid of what she's going to look like, and then sees, that she's fixed. You fixed her. And he's like, that's what I do. And it's very, goes right towards how she ends up. I also like how she talks to the kid that was in the first episode who didn't want to see her grandmother, and explaining to him, how she had a wig and she had false teeth and all these things, and that you're going to see her the way she's supposed to be and how it correlates with Nell. I love how Steven in here keeps trying to say that he saw something, but can't quite get it out because Shirley keeps cutting him off. And I know that that's like story-wise, they needed that to happen so that Steven has his break, you know, can say you have a bigger moment later. Luke also, poor Luke. You know, Shirley is like the mother figure that's left over, so she has to be the bad guy and go out there and tell Luke that, you know, his heroin addicted ass can't come. I mean, $6,000 for rehab, and does he really need horseback riding? Does he really need it? I mean, it sounds like Nell really wanted to go horseback riding in that scene because she keeps going, they have horses. So it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, there is like little bits of humor in here that you can get out of these tragic situations. Let's see. Oh yeah, the whole thing that comes back around where their mom tells them to come back inside when she flashes the porch lights twice. It means it's time to come home. Great way to end that, because, you know, like right before when she finishes now and she's about to close the door and she sees her mother there with the box. Fucking creepy. Again, also I love that you just kind of have to start piecing together what's real and what's not, what's imaginary, what's caused by stress. But then like when you see the Forever House and the porch lights go on, and I'm like, some fucking ghosts, like that stuff with her mother, I think maybe happened like in the basement. Maybe there's like a 50-50 chance in my brain that was just her in her head. But the thing with the porch lights, that fucking happened. That there was something in that house. The whole thing at the very beginning where she talks about Nell in the red room. Nell is in the red room. That's that repeated thing over and over and over again. I am really trying to make sure that I've covered everything. I do like Henry Thomas and Carol Gugino's conversation about how they tried to handle the death of the kittens and why they had the kittens and all that stuff, that situation about how they're trying to get her to talk, you know, like to teach her about death, and they kind of blew it. I like that scene a lot too. Just all the acting is so great in this. And again, it's why I decided to do these videos one at a time. Oh God, I'm forgetting something, but let me see if I look at somebody's name here. Maybe it'll pop into my head. Oh, well, the thing with Mr. Dudley and the master key, him saying that, no, I don't have any other keys. Like that whole thing, like that kind of bugged me. That why didn't they try to just bust down the red room door? You know, like some people would say, why did they stay in the house? Because then you don't have a haunted house show. Why didn't they bust down that door? Because then you don't have that secret running down. But I still say, why didn't they bust down that fucking door? Like, is that room somehow making them forget about it when it needs to be forgotten about? Like, unless they're talking about it, does it make them forget? The thing with the dogs, again, if there's a bunch of dogs barking and the caretaker is saying there's never been any dogs, extra questions, please. They're fucking dogs. The kids hear the dogs, so where are the dogs? Like, push a little bit. But again, they won't because of the story. It is a little frustrating at times when there's those kind of things that you can tell they won't answer. So it's like, if you don't want them to not answer the question, then don't bring it up. Just make the dogs be this creepy thing that happens. See, I love this show, but I can still call it out a little bit. And I feel like that's pretty much it, except for the guy that's sitting on the couch with the drink that shows up and disappears. That's again something that'll be brought up later on. That then when that episode brings that up, I will talk about it then. There's so many things that happen that I don't want to talk about until they get resolved. So I think that's about it. So yeah, let's end that there. I hope I covered everything. If I haven't, if there's something that you want to talk about that I didn't mention, or something you liked or hated or whatever, leave it in the comments section. So with that, if you like this video, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe. We just passed 400 subscribers, so that's a freaking awesome thing. Hit the bell for all notifications. We will be back with more videos tomorrow. I'm going to spend some time doing stuff that I want to do. Not that I don't want to do this, but we will see you on the next one. Otherwise, this is Rob at Smirking Gun Review saying thanks for all the support, and I love you guys, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye. 20 minutes? Yep.